Washington State's $45 million electric vehicle instant rebate program for buying or leasing electric vehicles fell far short of promises to deliver environmental results and help middle-income people buy EVs, concluded a Washington Policy Center policy brief released this past week. Joining me with more on this story is the Center Square's Washington reporter Carlene Johnson. Carlene, what was the goal of the EV rebate program?
Yeah, the goal of this program was to encourage people to buy electric vehicles or lease them or plug in hybrid vehicles where it can be gas powered or electric, who might not otherwise be able to afford these vehicles, all in the name of reducing CO2 emissions and meeting some of the pretty lofty goals that former Governor Jay Inslee has set for the state of Washington as far as emissions reductions in the next couple of years. So they had this $45 million set aside, and the Department of Commerce kind of ran the subsidies, if you will, or rebates. And they said, okay, you can receive maybe up to $9,000 off of a new EV lease. And it was supposed to be for lower income or at most moderate income folks, was the idea that, we're going to encourage these people to buy when they might not otherwise be able to. And I guess if the whole goal was to give the money away as fast as they could, Washington Policy Centers that was met, because within 2.5 months of the funnel opening on this rebate program, it was all swallowed up and those vehicles were purchased. There were some other issues with stated goals that were not met.
Yeah, let's get into that. Did it meet its stated goals?
Yeah, so Washington Policy Center's Vice President for Research, who also heads up their Center for the Environment, Todd Myers, told me no. I mean, the idea was, first of all, they had a goal that they were going to sell 8,700 vehicles. That's how much it would increase, I should say, EV sales, during the subsidy period. They only ended up selling about 4,800, according to Washington Policy Center, during that time. And it was supposed to reduce emissions by a whole lot, but according to Myers, it was minuscule. Those CO2 emission reductions were 0.03%. So really very little, benefit for the environment at the expense of 45 million taxpayer dollars. So if the goal was to reduce emissions and help people that could otherwise not afford these EVs, Washington Policy Center says it was, an abject failure.
Who took advantage of the subsidies?
Right. So what they did at Washington Policy Center was to look at the zip codes where the people, took advantage of these. So before the subsidies went into effect in April of 2024, the average income of zip codes where these EVs were being purchased was $122,000. So when the rebates began, I misstated April's when they began. April's when the program was announced. So August is when the program kicked in. Okay. And then, as I mentioned, it was just a little over 2.5 months when all the subsidies were drained. The $45 million bucket was empty. So the median income of the person purchasing these EVs went down to $118,000. Now, it's more money than many of us make, right? But basically the same income level of a person purchasing these EVs. So that means the people that were, moderate to higher incomes were the ones taking advantage of these subsidies, not low to moderate income earners. So again, if that was one of the stated goals from former Governor Inslee, that you're going to let low income people take advantage and get EVs where they normally couldn't have done it, it wasn't that. It was moderate to high income earners across Washington state who were basically given a chunk of money, taxpayer dollars, to buy an electric vehicle. And that was not how it was supposed to work, according to the stated mission.
Will there be another program like this?
Well, that is the big unknown, right? So former Governor Inslee, just before leaving office, gives his budget proposal to lawmakers in Olympia and says, rah, rah, the program was so successful. Now, mind you, that came out before Washington Policy Center's sharply critical policy report, right? But he came out and said his stated reason for why it was so popular is that that money was gone in a blink. That $45 million was gone in 2.5 months. It must have been such a popular program. Well, only popular because people got free money, as it seems. But he said, this is so popular, we need to actually not only repeat this, but increase this for the next biennium. So his budget proposal includes $82 million for another big money giveaway for people that want to purchase EVs and plug-in hybrids. Now, whether or not our new governor, Bob Ferguson, is going to include that in his budget request to lawmakers in Olympia remains to be seen. I did reach out to Ferguson's office and forwarded a copy of WPC's report saying, okay, wait a minute. Supposedly this program is really popular, but the only reason it's popular is because we gave people free money, according to this report. Are you going to pitch this again, especially when we've got, a major budget deficit over the next couple of years here in Washington? Are you going to ask for another 82 million or whatever he asked for to continue the EV program? I did not get a response via my emailed request, Eliana. So I don't know if it's going to be pitched, but I can guarantee you if it is, that you're going to have folks who were critical of this program the first go around hold up this report and say, wait a minute, we didn't reach any of our goals. All we did was give people money to buy nice cars.
Well, Carlene, thank you for your insights on this story. Listeners can keep up with this story and more at thecentersquare.com.